Lily was a bright, vibrant young girl with a passion for painting that went beyond just a hobby. It was her refuge, her way to express the storm of emotions that swirled within her. At just 14, she was battling a severe illness, cancer, which had not only drained her physically but was also putting a strain on her family's finances. Her parents worked tirelessly, but the medical bills were overwhelming, threatening to drown them in debt. To help ease the financial burden, Lily turned to her art. She poured her heart into each stroke of the brush, creating vivid landscapes and portraits that reflected her inner resilience and hope. Her bedroom was filled with canvases of all sizes, each telling a story of dreams, fears, and courage. Recognizing her talent and desperate need, her parents suggested she sell her paintings. The local market in their small town seemed like the perfect place. Every weekend, it attracted a crowd that was always enthusiastic about supporting local artisans. One crisp Saturday morning, with the sun casting a gentle golden glow over the day, Lily set up a small stall at the corner of the market. Her paintings, lined up in a neat row, added a splash of color against the drab backdrop of the old market square. She felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as she watched people pass by. Her heart skipped every time someone paused to look at her art. Despite her hope, the morning was tough. People smiled and praised her work, but most were just passing glances. The few who showed interest often walked away after hearing the price, not because it was too much, but perhaps because spending on art was a luxury they couldn't afford now. As the morning gave way to afternoon, the initial buzz of the market began to fade, and Lily's spirits sank with it. Her parents, standing a little way off, watched her with a mix of pride and sorrow. They had seen her struggle through every hospital visit, every treatment session, yet here she was, fighting still, not with medicine, but with her art. They wished more than anything that they could take her pain away, but all they could do was stand by her, support her dreams, and hope that somehow things would take a turn for the better. As the day wore on, Lily's initial excitement turned to disappointment. She packed up her unsold paintings, trying to mask the discouragement that clouded her bright eyes. But just as she was about to close her stall, a new figure appeared at the market, a rare visitor that might just change the course of the day. This unexpected turn of events sparked a glimmer of hope in Lily's heart, wondering if perhaps her luck was about to change. Lily returned to the market the next weekend, her spirits buoyed by a cautious optimism. The early morning air was crisp, filled with the earthy scent of fresh produce and the mingling aromas of baked goods and coffee from nearby stalls. As she set up her stand at the familiar corner, her fingers carefully positioned each painting, hoping that today would be different. The market was already bustling as locals and tourists alike meandered through the aisles, their voices a lively hum against the backdrop of soft music playing from a nearby cafe. Lily's paintings, vibrant and emotive, caught the eyes of many passersby. A young couple paused to admire a canvas depicting a serene lakeside at sunset, its waters mirroring the fiery hues of the sky. They chatted with Lily about her techniques and the inspiration behind her works, their interest genuine and encouraging. However, despite the kind words and smiles, no sales came. Lily felt the familiar twinge of disappointment each time someone walked away, her hopes deflating like a balloon slowly losing air. But she pushed these feelings aside, reminding herself to stay positive, to be patient. As the morning progressed, the crowd thickened, a lively mix of families, couples, and groups of friends enjoying the weekend ritual of the market. Children ran about, their laughter ringing out, while vendors called out to attract customers to their stalls. Amidst this, an elderly woman stopped by Lily's stand, her eyes drawn to a painting of a blooming garden under the soft light of dawn. They struck up a conversation, the woman sharing stories of her own garden back home. She left with a promise to think about buying the painting, leaving Lily with a warm smile and a spark of hope. The highlight of the day came unexpectedly in the form of a local art teacher who brought his class to the market for a practical lesson on art and commerce. He spent a long time at Lily's stall, discussing her art with the students, explaining the emotions and techniques captured in each piece. The students were fascinated, asking Lily questions about her art journey and her future aspirations. This interaction, though not resulting in immediate sales, uplifted Lily's spirits tremendously. It reminded her that her art had the power to engage and inspire, to connect with others on a deep level. By the end of the day, as Lily packed up her unsold paintings, she felt a mix of fatigue and fulfillment. She hadn't made any sales, but the connections she'd made and the conversations she'd had were invaluable. She realized that success wasn't just about selling paintings. It was also about touching people's lives with her art, about perseverance and personal growth. With a renewed sense of determination, she vowed to return the following week, hopeful and ready to face whatever challenges and surprises awaited her at the market. The following weekend, Lily woke up early, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. She had worked on a few new paintings throughout the week, pouring her emotions into each brushstroke. Even though she hadn't sold any paintings yet, she refused to give up. This time, she was determined to keep trying. Her parents helped her set up the stall at the same corner of the market. The sun was still rising, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The air was cool, and the scent of freshly baked bread and flowers filled the market square. Vendors were busy arranging their goods, chatting with each other as they prepared for another bustling day. As the morning went on, more people arrived, moving from stall to stall, admiring handmade crafts, fresh fruits, and warm pastries. Lily smiled and greeted everyone who stopped by her stand. A few people complimented her work, but still, no one made a purchase. She tried not to feel discouraged, reminding herself that patience was key. Then, something unusual happened. A sudden buzz spread through the market. People started murmuring and looking in the same direction. Lily stood on her toes, trying to see what was happening. A group of well-dressed individuals entered the market, and right behind them was a tall man in a polished uniform. It took Lily a moment to realize what was going on. The royal family had arrived. Every few months, a member of the royal family visited different parts of the town to interact with the people. They often brought security with them, which included the royal guards. Seeing them in the market was rare, and the excitement in the air was almost electric. People quickly gathered around, hoping to catch a glimpse of the royals. Vendors straightened their displays, hoping to attract their attention. The air was filled with whispers, excitement, and anticipation. Lily's heart pounded. What if they came by her stall? Would they notice her paintings? Would they even care? She swallowed her nervousness and focused on arranging her paintings neatly, making sure everything looked its best. Even if they didn't stop by, she wanted to be ready for any other potential customers drawn in by the excitement. As the royal entourage moved through the market, Lily caught sight of one of the guards, a tall man with a serious expression. Unlike the others, he wasn't just scanning the crowd. His eyes moved across the market stalls, studying everything with quiet curiosity. Then something unexpected happened. He stopped, right in front of Lily's stall. The people around her gasped softly, watching the scene unfold. Lily's heart pounded as the guard's gaze settled on her paintings. His expression didn't change, but there was something intense in the way he looked at them. For the first time that day, Lily felt hope spark inside her. Maybe, just maybe, things were about to change. Lily felt her hands tremble slightly as the tall royal guard stood in front of her stall, his eyes scanning her paintings with an unreadable expression. The market, which had been buzzing with activity just moments ago, seemed to grow quieter as people turned their attention toward the unexpected scene. Some whispered among themselves, wondering what had caught the guard's interest. Lily swallowed her nervousness and forced herself to speak. "Good morning, sir. Do you like paintings?" Her voice was soft, but steady. The guard, still observing the artwork, finally looked at her. His expression wasn't harsh, but it held a certain seriousness, as if he was not the type of man who spoke unnecessarily. He nodded slightly before shifting his gaze back to the paintings. "This one, he said finally, pointing at a canvas of a lonely tree standing tall against a stormy sky. It has strength in it. Lily blinked in surprise. She had painted that piece during one of her hardest days, when she felt overwhelmed by everything: the illness, the treatments, the uncertainty of the future. The tree in the painting represented resilience, standing firm despite the raging storm around it. "Yes," she said softly, "it's about not giving up, no matter how hard things get." The guard's sharp gaze studied her for a moment. "Did you paint all of these?" She nodded. "I love painting. It helps me express things I can't say out loud." She hesitated before adding, "I'm selling them to help pay for my treatment." There was a brief silence. Something flickered in the guard's eyes, something Lily couldn't quite understand. He studied her for a long moment, then turned back to the painting he had pointed out earlier. "How much for this one?" he asked. Lily hesitated. She had priced it reasonably, but she wasn't sure if he was just being polite or genuinely interested. "It's 35, she said cautiously. The guard reached into his uniform pocket and pulled out a small, elegant pouch. Without another word, he placed several bills on the table, far more than the price she had mentioned. Lily's eyes widened in shock. "Wait, sir, this is too much. I can't. I am not just buying a painting," he interrupted, his voice firm but not unkind. "I am supporting an artist who refuses to give up." He paused, then added, "Keep painting." With that, he picked up the canvas, gave her a final nod, and walked away. Lily stood frozen, staring at the money on the table. The people around her, who had been quietly watching, erupted into whispers. Some looked astonished, others smiled warmly at the unexpected generosity. Her parents, who had been watching from a distance, rushed over. Her mother placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Lily, do you realize what just happened?" She could barely find the words to respond. For the first time in weeks, she felt something she had been struggling to hold on to. Lily's hands trembled as she picked up the bills the royal guard had left behind. She counted them twice, unable to believe it. It was far more than what she had asked for, enough to cover a big portion of her next medical treatment. Her mother squeezed her hand gently, while her father looked at the money in astonishment. The market around her was still buzzing with murmurs. People had seen what happened, and now they were looking at her stall differently. Some stepped closer, their curiosity turning into admiration. A woman in a warm, knitted shawl approached first. She smiled at Lily and pointed at a painting of a sunflower standing tall against a blue sky. "I'd like to buy this one," she said. "How much?" Lily hesitated. Just moments ago, no one had shown much interest in buying, but now everything had changed. She cleared her throat and said the price. But before she could react, the woman handed her even more than what she had asked for. "Your art is beautiful," the woman said, "and I want to support you." Another person stepped forward. "I'd like this one," he said, pointing to a painting of a peaceful forest. Before Lily could even process it, more and more people started gathering around, picking out paintings, asking about her work, and handing her money, more than the asking price. Lily felt overwhelmed, but in the best way possible. Her heart pounded as she carefully wrapped each painting for her buyers, thanking them with a voice filled with emotion. She had dreamed of this moment, of people appreciating her art, but she never imagined it would happen like this. Her father helped organize the payments while her mother wiped a tear from her eye, watching their daughter shine. The once quiet little stall had become the center of attention in the market, and all because of the royal guard's unexpected act of kindness. As Lily handed over another painting to a customer, she caught sight of the guard in the distance. He had rejoined the royal entourage, his posture as straight and disciplined as before. For a moment, he glanced back toward her stall. Their eyes met. She felt a deep sense of gratitude well up inside her. She wanted to say thank you, but he simply gave her a small, almost imperceptible nod before turning away and disappearing into the crowd. Lily clutched the last of her paintings, barely able to believe what had just happened. In just a few minutes, her entire stall was nearly empty, her earnings more than she could have ever hoped for. The weight of her struggles suddenly felt a little lighter. For the first time in a long while, she felt something beyond just hope. She felt strength. She wasn't just a sick girl selling paintings anymore. She was an artist, and people believed in her. And that meant everything. As the sun began to set, the market slowly started to wind down. Lily sat at her stall, staring in disbelief at the nearly empty table in front of her. Only a few small paintings remained, but in her hands, she held more money than she had ever seen at one time. It wasn't just about the money, though. It was about what it meant. For weeks, she had been struggling, hoping someone would notice her art, hoping she could do something to help her family with the medical bills. And today, something incredible had happened. The Royal Guard's simple act of kindness had changed everything. Because of him, people had opened their hearts to her. They had seen her paintings for more than just colors on a canvas. They had seen her story. Her parents sat beside her, just as stunned as she was. Her mother, still wiping tears from her eyes, reached over and pulled Lily into a tight hug. "You did it, sweetheart," she whispered. "People finally saw what we've always seen in you." Lily could barely speak. She hugged her mother back, feeling warmth spread through her chest. Her father patted her shoulder with a proud smile. "This is just the beginning, Lily," he said. "I told you your talent would take you far." As they packed up the remaining paintings, several people from the market stopped by to congratulate her. Some offered kind words, while others gave her business cards, suggesting that she consider displaying her work in local galleries. The idea made Lily's heart race. Just a few days ago, she had been struggling to sell a single piece, and now people wanted to help her share her art with even more people. Among the visitors was the elderly woman who had stopped by earlier but hadn't bought anything then. She smiled warmly and held out a small envelope. "I couldn't stop thinking about your story," she said gently. "This isn't for a painting. It's just a small gift from me to you. Consider it a sign of encouragement." Lily hesitated before accepting the envelope, feeling a lump form in her throat. She had never expected so much kindness from strangers. "Thank you," she said softly. As the crowd began to thin, Lily glanced toward the road where the royal entourage had left. She wondered if she would ever see the Royal Guard again. His face had been so serious, but his actions had been more powerful than any words. She didn't even know his name, but she would never forget him. That night, as they returned home, Lily sat at her desk, staring at a blank canvas. Her fingers itched to paint, but this time, she didn't just want to express her struggles. She wanted to capture hope, kindness, and the moment her life had changed forever. With a deep breath, she dipped her brush into the paint and began. Over the next few weeks, Lily's life changed in ways she had never imagined. The story of the Royal Guard buying her painting and the kindness of the people at the market spread quickly. Some local newspapers picked up on it, and soon more people were reaching out, wanting to support her art and her fight against cancer. One morning, as she sat by her window sketching a new idea, her mother walked in with an envelope in her hands, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Lily," she said, barely able to contain her excitement. "This letter, it's from the Royal Art Foundation." Lily's heart skipped a beat. She carefully took the envelope, her fingers trembling as she opened it. Inside was a beautifully written letter, inviting her to display her paintings at an upcoming charity exhibition hosted by the royal family. It even mentioned that her work had caught the attention of someone within the palace, though it didn't say who. Her mind immediately went to the Royal Guard. Could it be him? Her emotions swirled between excitement, nervousness, and disbelief. Just a few weeks ago, she had been struggling to sell a single painting at the market, and now she was being invited to showcase her work at a grand event. With the help of her parents, Lily worked harder than ever. She painted day and night, pouring every ounce of her emotions into her art. Each piece told a story, not just of her illness, but of hope, strength, and the kindness of strangers. When the day of the exhibition finally arrived, she stood in the grand hall, surrounded by people dressed in elegant attire. Her paintings were displayed on tall stands, each one illuminated by soft golden lights. People walked past, admiring her work, discussing the emotions behind them. Some even made offers to buy them. Lily was overwhelmed by it all. She had dreamed of moments like this, but never so soon, and never like this. Then she noticed him, the royal guard. He stood at a distance, dressed in his formal uniform, just as serious as the first time she had seen him. But this time, as their eyes met, she saw something different, a hint of pride, a silent acknowledgement. Slowly, he walked over. "You've done well," he said, glancing at her paintings. "I knew you would." Lily's throat tightened. There were so many things she wanted to say. "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for changing my life." But all she could do was smile. "It's because of you," she finally said. The guard shook his head slightly. "No, it was always you." Then, after a brief pause, he added, "But I'm glad I helped." As he turned to leave, Lily watched him, knowing she would never forget this moment. He wasn't just a royal guard. To her, he was the person who had given her the strength to believe in herself again. And for that, she would always be grateful. Lily stood in the exhibition hall long after most of the guests had left, taking in everything that had happened. It still felt like a dream. Her paintings displayed for the world to see, people admiring her work, and most of all, the moment she had shared with the royal guard. His words echoed in her mind. It was always you. She had spent so long doubting herself, worrying that her illness would define her, that she had almost forgotten who she truly was: an artist, a fighter, and someone with a story worth telling. Her parents soon joined her, their faces beaming with pride. "We are so proud of you, sweetheart," her mother said, holding her close. "Look how far you've come." Lily smiled, holding back the happy tears that threatened to spill. "I never thought this would happen," she admitted, looking around the room, still in awe. Her father chuckled. "That's because you don't see yourself the way others do. You have a gift, Lily. And now, the world knows it too." As they gathered her remaining paintings to take home, a woman from the exhibition approached them. She introduced herself as the director of an art scholarship program. "Lily," she said warmly, "your work is inspiring, not just because of your story, but because of the emotion you pour into it. We would love to offer you a scholarship to study art professionally." Lily's eyes widened. "A scholarship?" The woman nodded. "Yes, we believe you have a bright future ahead of you." Lily felt her heart race. This was more than just selling paintings. It was a chance to grow, to learn, and to truly chase her dream. She glanced at her parents, who looked just as shocked but incredibly happy. "Thank you," she said, barely able to find the words. I'd love that." The woman smiled. "Then we'll be in touch soon." As she walked away, Lily felt a wave of emotions wash over her. Just a few weeks ago, she had been sitting in the market, struggling to sell even one painting. Now she had not only sold nearly all of them, but she had a scholarship, a chance to study and improve her skills. And it had all started with one act of kindness. That night, as she lay in bed, she thought about the royal guard again. He had disappeared into the crowd after their conversation, but she knew she would never forget him. Maybe she would see him again one day. Maybe she wouldn't, but either way, she hoped he knew what he had done for her. Lily turned on her side, staring at the small blank canvas she had placed beside her bed. Tomorrow, she would start a new painting. Not of struggle, not of sadness, but of hope. Because now, she truly believed in it.